Previously on the meat prep.
That's fine by me. The more, the merrier. I know some other people might be coming to that. For example, Max Tuning and Nick Wright. Both right now are tentatively scheduled to compete in that meet. We'll see how things go over the course of 12 weeks. As we know, things have a tendency to change and or excuses seem to arise. So hold you two accountable. And if you see them or go on their channels, which I'm sure you do if you watch mine, make sure you really push them to go.
As you guys know, I wanted to do some powerlifting meet in March, but after my bench progress tonight, I decided I am no longer going to be competing in March.
Is pertaining to my powerlifting meet. Now, I told you guys before that I was going to do the RPS New England Revolution in about 5 weeks, right, with Brandon Campbell and such. But I got word that that meet filled up fast, and I can no longer get into it. We're not even close to the deadline.
All right, jumping right back into the meet prep. I am now 5 weeks out, which means my meet is getting really close. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Now, in this particular day, doing deadlifts, 3 sets of 8 with 455. The program actually called for 450, but one of the things I've been trying to do as well is kind of round up to the nearest bigger plate. So instead of having a 10, a 5, and a 2.5, I just figured I'd use 2 10s, and this way I lift more weight overall. So 3 sets of 8 here. This was actually very, very brutal, not to mention that this was early in the morning. Now, lately, because of my schedule and with the snowstorms and being able to work from home on occasion, as well as other stuff being open to me later in the afternoon, not having a lot of other commitments outside of work, I've been lucky enough to train after having eaten a couple meals in most cases. Today, I had a lot of stuff going on in this particular day, both for work and after work, which means I had to go to the gym right when it opened at 6 o'clock, which is something I was really accustomed to in the past. But in this case, I just wasn't. I didn't have really time to eat because, again, I had other stuff to do. So all I had literally was a bag of sour gummy worms, and that was it. I've actually also been trying to stay away from any caffeine, so I haven't had caffeine in about a week. Probably give that another couple of days before I get back on the pre-workout train and whatnot. So needless to say, this just absolutely drained me. And I think it was a combination of being pretty fairly heavyweight for me, as well as a lot more volume than I'm accustomed to. So sets of 8, that's like cardio in some instances, that I was just literally dead. So I cut this workout a little bit short, only did 3 total exercises, and I didn't go as heavy in some of the accessory work that I would normally do. But overall, I still felt it went extremely well. Now, just to point some things out here, I am also wearing one of the compression cuffs on my left arm from Mark Bell. You'll see me wear that in the following video from the next day as well. My left elbow has been kind of dealing with a little bit of tendonitis, so rather than make it any worse, I decided to strap one of these on for the workouts for these 2 days. It's nothing I'm really going to overly concern myself with. I think it's just basically from overuse. And that brings the question a lot of times with tendonitis. I get questions on that. I've dealt with it a little bit in my knees and in my elbow, and literally the best thing that I found to help it is just literally take some time off, and I know no one likes to hear that. Anyways, jumping back into this, here's my squats after. Only did a 3x5 of 315. Normally I go a lot heavier, but again, just because of the situation, I didn't want to. But this is a case where I'm wearing my Olympic shoes, where normally I'd wear my flat shoes, and I think you can see my depth is pretty good here, again, considering for me. So that being said, if you didn't catch my last video, please watch it, because I really need the confirmation in my life that I'm doing something right. But also because I talk about why I'm going to be wearing Olympic shoes instead of flat shoes. Which brings us to the next day. So this was a bench strength training day. So 275 for 5 sets of 3. Again, the program called for 270, but again, being the case that I like to round up if I can, I put it up to 275 just to make things easier. Now for this day, again, this is a Tuesday workout for bench. I do bench on Tuesday and Friday. I always try to pause on Tuesday, and Friday is more touch and go. For these particular sets, I also wanted to make sure I got a longer pause. In some cases, I was effective doing that. In other cases, I just forgot. It's one of those things that when you're pausing, and I find the same thing is true with pause squats, it always feels like you're pausing for a lot longer than you are when you go back and watching videos. So if you are doing pause reps on stuff, one of the things that can really help is maybe just counting in your head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, whatever it may be. Now, you don't have to do an abnormally long pause either, but just make sure that you're there enough. And the reason I'm doing this for this meet prep is only because It's really kind of hit or miss on who you get for your judges on bench and how fast they have the press call. I've seen some extremely fast ones, which are barely any pause. The same hand, I've seen one that are abnormally long and just like ridiculous. So I think it's better safe than sorry just to practice some of this. That being the case too, in this instance for bench, I'm wearing my Inzer belt and I'm wearing my Olympic shoes during this pressing session, only because, again, I want to get a little bit comfortable with that because that's what I plan to do in my meet when I go for my 1 rep max, wear my belt and my shoes. So I just want to get some training with that in, and I'll probably continue to do that the next couple of weeks just to get my meet truly prepared. But enough sexual innuendos. Today actually went fairly well too, so the weight wasn't anything overly heavy, but considering it was with a pause and it's been a lot better than I have in the past, I'm really happy with how my bench has been progressing on this training cycle. From there, we moved on to incline barbell bench press. Now, I haven't been doing this a ton just because I've been trying to focus more of my accessories on the main bench press movement and just doing like wide grip or close grip or floor presses. I do, however, want to hit the upper chest a little bit just because that is definitely a weak area for me. So I allowed myself to do it on this particular day with 3 sets of 8 at 225. From there, moved on to some weighted dips. I didn't want to go overboard in terms of weight, so what I did is 4 sets of 12 with 55 pounds as a weight attachment there, only because, again, with my elbow, I didn't want to overdo it and just do, like, let's say, sets of 3 to 5 with a lot heavier weight, only because I'm not trying to fuck my shit up too much before the meet. Then finally ended with a simple bodybuilding style movement, some tricep extensions with just this V-bar type attachment, 3 sets of 10 at 100 pounds. Nothing, again, impressive, but just enough to really make me feel fatigued in my triceps. So there you go. Again, if you want more information about my warm-ups or anything else about this routine, you can follow me in Fredocracy, which is always linked below. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big. And that being the case, I did severely contemplate not going to the gym either.